as the number 5. The story of your worth. Worth is another great word to look at the etymology of. It actually comes from German, worthian, to become. So you were born to be something of great importance. All right, everyone was born to be something of great importance. But when you forget that, then you become small, very small. And it's in your smallness you make everyone else small. Not just you, we all do that. When we feel small, we make others small. Now that comes out as that you're judging someone. That's how it appears to you. But really, in your sense of smallness, feeling of smallness, you are making others small. And if you noticed in the previous one, it was about recognizing our most self. This is just the opposite. This is where we can recognize when we are making ourselves smaller than who we are. So it's when you see yourself making others small that you can identify what's holding you back. All things, all people are absolutely perfect, right? The only reason that we like to say nobody's perfect is because we have expectations of others that they're not living up to. So in our eyes, they're not perfect because they're not doing what we want them to do. They're not doing what we expect them to do. But when you look at them through the being that made them, the eyes of God, then you'll notice that everything and everyone is absolutely perfect because everyone is on an eternal scale. And it's in that eternal scale that they are evolving, constantly evolving. So there is no stagnant state of an individual that if you take a picture of them, the snapshot of them at this time in their life, that is not even who they are exactly. All right, so I picked you this one because I wanted to surprise you. I didn't want you to get all scared and wigged out, at least sitting there. You can hear, but all right. So God says, the most important thing for you to understand right now is that your smallness makes you worse off than when you see your perfection. Your perfection is so extraordinary, you never even imagined it, okay? That's how extraordinary it is because you never imagined it. So what we're going to do now is give you an idea of what to place in your imagination to start to work toward that greatness that you are. Because for now, you are forced into conditions that give you these, I'm seeing a peg in a hole, right? That these conditions that force you to constantly place yourself in a small hole, when what you would much rather do is completely destroy all of these environments that you're forced into. I'm seeing the explosion of that board and peg and holes. Because what's most important to you is of least importance to the people around you. What you find exciting and thrilling, other people find boring and dull. What you find perfectly suited for you, other people wonder, how is it you could possibly like that? How could you like those things? And the truth is, you were born to make these things your own. This is how you were designed, the parents that were chosen for you, the life that you're leading now was absolutely aligned for these very things that are fascinating you and causing other people to think you're strange. So as you start to build your awareness of this, then you start to imagine why you were born. And we want to tell you why you were born, okay? You were born to be a stupendous, caring perfect line of, sorry God, there's a distraction going on. There is an energy flow that is being blocked because of a source of institution? Yes. The institute, in the room? No. There is an institutional manner that you are taking. Oh, it's me. And in this institutional manner, you are starting to worry that this information will be overly stigmatized. So what we'd like to do then is take instead snippets of it and allow Kelly to ask questions so that we can guide your mind into the focus of this, okay? So the first presentation, in order to recall questions, is you were born to make up the system of perfection as it relates to conditional environments for media. Conditional environments for media. If you had a question about that, we'd like to answer it.
I don't have a question, but that totally makes sense. That's very much a pattern of going into a static structure that's not working.
Right.
And trying to rearrange it or blow it up, like you said earlier.
Right. So what this environment then presents for you is an opportunity to reconstruct a system that flows better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that flowing, you are aligning the system with its source. As you align the system with its source, you perfect it. And as you perfect it, you generate a more movable object. So when you generate a more movable object, you also generate a moving object. Okay. So systematize the creation of a connection to the source. All information begins somewhere. And if you can align that source to its end product, so I'm picturing this, what I'm actually picturing is neurons, kind of a neurological pathway, circulatory pathway. But that doesn't mean that's what you do. I'm just saying that the way that the circulatory system works from the source of the heart is what is parallel to what God's talking to here. Is that right? Yes. So all sources have a drive. From that drive is a pattern. In that pattern is a flow, and every flow has a resistance. Every resistance can be reduced so long as when the end product is delivered, it's delivered to something that manipulates the resistance, rather than resistance being in the system. So what we want you to think about now is that because we were talking about smallness, we want you to think about perfection. Perfection as in that which is at its utmost optimization? Yes, that which is at its utmost optimization. And you are going to do that by intervening in the way that source works with the end product. And the dialogue between creates the flow. But the flow has to be uninterruptible in order to be producing anything of construction from the source material. This doesn't make sense to you right now because Sondra doesn't know what we're talking about. So God says, if you would give Sondra some information so that she can find the right words here. So
it's almost like the uninterrupted communication happens at the beginning in some way, and then there's this process that happens to get to the end product. And so it's like how to, I don't know, translate that or keep it in the end product?
Right. If the source is relevant to the end product, meaning there's no accumulation of aggregation? No accumulation of I don't know what the word is. What is it you do? Maybe that'll help me.
I'm a software developer.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, but
there's this other. I don't think this is related to software development.
Yes, it is. It is materialistically related. In other words, this is how you make a living, but this is not how you're making a life. Your life is based in the more dynamic ranges of the same kind of environment that you're creating. Your life is all about making up the career that is going to satisfy your sense of giving. Your sense of giving is all about the person that you are. So that is your connection to Source. Your connection to Source needs to be expressed in the way that your life is expressed. But how you make a living, meaning how you keep the roof over your head, shoes on your feet, and food on the table, is by developing software that aligns to the company that you're doing the work for. But it will be increased in its position in your life when you align these two parts of you. So that doesn't mean that you have to do for a living what is necessary for a life. What that means is you compare and contrast constantly the two so that you're always giving in how you make a living and you are always living in how you make a life. Ooh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So there's one more thing we want you to come up with as a question. It has to do with how will you surrender to the life you were born to live? So come up with a question about that. Who are you to be?
That's a good question.
That is the question. Who are you to be? Who are you to be is the same person as the person you imagined when you were a very small boy. When you were a very small boy, you began to recognize yourself as being an engineer. You were an engineer of a very important thing. What was it?
Legos, maybe?
Yes. Yes. It is in this engineering that you began to see your most self.
Yep.
So now you see what you are going to start working toward in your area of making a life that makes you a living.
Yeah, it's the same pattern. It's the Legos, and it was the software development job, and then it's whatever is after the software development job. It's the evolution.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And the software development is actually going to help you in the area of engineering in a way that so many other people cannot perform in the way you are going to be able to perform as a result.
Yep.
Okay? Does that feel good?
Yep.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. And do you have any other questions?
I think so.
No? Okay, well, you're done.
All
You're
right.
done, Kelly. Yay. Okay, cool. Thank you for coming up.
The recently released book, What to Do When You're Dead, a former atheist interviews the source of infinite being, is a fascinating dialogue between the creator of the universe and the author, Sondra Sneed, who has been in her life to hell and back. Imagine finding out that you may hold the secret to man's survival and that your work is already recorded in the book of life. Well, it's happened to Sondra Sneed, and you get a front row seat to the life of a reluctant messenger bringing forth a message that could save humankind if human beings are willing to listen. Join Sondra Sneed as she takes you on a journey of what to do when you're dead at sondrasneed.com. That's SONDRASNEED.com.